Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily live stream. If this is your first time, I can guarantee you it's not going to be your only time. My name is Kellam. We've got a hell of a good show for you today because there is no shortage of news, of FUD, of uncertainty, of what the heck's going on with global markets. We're also looking like we're pushing into potentially, is it a relief bull rally in the traditional markets? Is it fake? Is it real? I mean, how are we supposed to contend with what is going on? How can we find some signals and look at some charts and draw any sort of highly probable conclusions about what can happen? And furthermore, how can we protect our capital? We're not going to do a long intro today because we got a lot to talk about. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell, and we're going to jump right on into it. Throw a 1 in chat if you're feeling grateful today. If you've DCA'd this week, throw a 2 in chat. If you took profits this week, throw a 3 in chat. Let's see where everybody's at. This is supposed to be a community. It's not just about us here, whether it's me or guests talking at you. We need to make this a community and get involved with each other. So without any further ado, let's bring in one of our favorite community members, Mr. Bill Noble. How you doing, good sir? Thank you for being back.
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, FTX, crazy, right? We felt like the worst was over, and I'm not saying we're at the worst now, or maybe it's unnecessary sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Speculation about what level of bad is going on right now. But I mean, this week of news, I'm not even going to say. Talk to us, Bill. What is going on? What are you doing right now? What should we be looking at?
Okay, let's start with an analogy back to 2008. So back then, 2008 happened. The guys who made the wrong decisions went out of business, and then the government turned around and published everybody else. Okay. Now, I think it's time to read between the headlines. So Gensler came out and dropped a FUD bomb. Some of our work indicated that, they were going to make one last push to stop the dollar because $1 in crypto or $1 in stocks is better than $1 in the bank. Stocks going up makes them look good. Crypto going up makes them look bad, right? Gensler reports to somebody, that would be the administration. So the way I'm looking at it is to go, okay, what they've said about Binance is heavy. Don't focus on that because everyone's focusing on that. Coinbase lawsuit, serious. They're going after the on-ramp. Coinbase is probably going to have to clean up a few things according to our work, but that eventually gets settled. Now, what is the focus? The focus is 2 things. Gensler said we don't need anything but the dollar. Okay, that sounds like coming from the administration and sounds like it's coming from somebody who's worried about the dollar. Okay, right? Because nobody knows more about what's going on than they do. So they've told you there's a problem with the dollar, hence possibly the little bit of crypto bounce we're going on. Because if I know and you know, then everybody knows, I think, right? And then there's a little contrarian spice, which is that Citibank decided to dismantle their currency fiat strategy team. Now, why would an investment bank do that? Well, because they don't think foreign exchange or the dollar is going to move much anymore. And I'm like, oh my God. This is like when Goldman Sachs or some investment banks at the top in 2017, they made crypto trading desks. And then when it crashed, they got rid of them, right? Wall Street does this weird thing. So if Gensler is hinting that there's a problem with the dollar based on his aggressive behavior, simultaneously, Wall Street thinks, nothing's going to happen with the dollar. I'm kind of thinking you got to get strapped in, which is why sell in May and go away needs to transition to, keep an eye on it in July and let it fly, at least in certain cryptos. So that's how I would set up the big picture. We can talk stocks, bonds, etc., as a follow through.
I agree with that on all accounts. I'm still wondering. I have this line on the chart that I drew a month or two back, June 15th, right in the middle of the month, and it's interesting. And for anybody that didn't listen yesterday, I want to recommend, I'm going to throw it over to my screen here for a second. That's not the correct screen. Let me go ahead and save changes. Let's go to, where's my Google screen? 1 second, right here. So coming right here over to my my page, I do a weekly Crypto Answered podcast, and it's right here. We had nearly 1,700 people tuned in, but we talked a lot about coming into the middle of this month. We've got so much incredible stuff lining up. 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. We've got and I'm curious your thoughts on this. We talked about it last night on the podcast with the Rational Rude and Dan Gambardello. I can never pronounce his last name. Dr. Jeff Ross, and we're all sort of speculating or trying to contend with all this news coming out right now. I can't see any other opportunity for what's happening right now, or any other explanation other than backdoor coordination between different government agencies, because they're scared about what's going on with the dollar and the economy, and somehow they're threatened by Bitcoin. And maybe part of that's also tied into the CBDCs, because we see the Hinman documents are being released on June 13th. We also have the FOMC meeting on 13th and 14th, so getting a decision there on interest rates. Also on 13th, somehow Binance just got charged, and somehow they already have a court date. You know what the date is? June 13th. I can't imagine there's not something. Something doesn't smell right here. What do you make of this? Is this something, like you said, we strap down for the time being, let the sort of, everything sort of settle into the next couple weeks, crab around, liquidity flushing out up and right, figure out what direction it's going to move? Or do you feel like there's going to be some sort of there's no way to tell. XRP case has been 2-3 years now. There's no way to tell what's going to happen with us. How do we engage with this in a meaningful way?
Okay. All right. Well, my father used to say, if you don't know what to do, don't do anything. That doesn't make for exciting television. So let's take it one step further. The first thing you have to do is recognize that Gensler has attacked Web3 by looking at major altcoins. I'm looking at Solana, Cardano, and Near. Anything in that family, you have to ask yourself, does retail own it? Do institutions own it? Okay. And are people just going to start dumping that stuff mindlessly? Right now, my opinion, Solana got dumped last year. Cardano could be vulnerable. This time around, we can talk about that. Now, so that's, I think, what you have to do. You have to review your portfolio, and you have to honestly say, can this coin that I have survive, a Godzilla comes out of the Tokyo Bay, and torches altcoins? Is my altcoin going to make it? Okay. Now, the next thing you do with the Fed is this. The Bank of Canada raised rates and roiled the bond market and sent our rates higher. I don't think there's any more need for more rate hikes, but it's obviously not up to me. I think wage inflation has stalled based on data that's not manipulated by the administration. So
that's an important distinction now somehow, right?
Very important distinction. I mean, you can't have an unemployment or a job growth number that beats Wall Street expectations 12 of 13 months in a row and not raise an eyebrow. Okay. Now, the Fed has more than one variable that it looks like, and if it wants to continue to jam rates higher, okay, that is also going to hurt crypto potentially, right? Higher rates, not good for crypto. Now, even if the Fed doesn't do higher rates, the U.S. government has to borrow $1 trillion now, okay? Sucking money out of the capital markets the way they're doing can cause interest rates to go up, which again is a further crypto headwind. I think the macro stuff with the Fed and interest rates is more relevant for Bitcoin and Ethereum than what the government is doing on the regulation front. I think if you're owning coins from the last cycle, or you're owning coins that can range between 5 cents and $3, you got to start asking yourself where the bottom end of the range could be and whether you can tolerate that. Okay. So rising rates, that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. Regulation, that's active portfolio management. In other words, you may not want to make a move, but you may have to make a move, because wouldn't it be horrible if crypto really turned, if this dollar move really happened, if something transpired in July, September, and November that made you go, oh my God, I don't have enough capital because I didn't make a move when I needed to.
That's just like, I was talking to you about this right before we went live. I brought it up on stream yesterday because I think it's important. We don't need to share every single aspect of our lives with everybody that watch, but we're talking about, major investments people are making in a change of lifestyle to be involved with the new asset class, like the digital asset ecosystem. And I thought it was important to let people know I did take some money out of the market yesterday, 2 days ago, and because there is uncertainty in the market. And I do have some altcoins that have performed that I bought at lower prices. And I thought, you know what? This is not the price level this was not my target for where I really wanted to take profit on some of these. But based on the conditions of the market, especially in the altcoin landscape, with the scrutiny that's on, whether things will be listed or delisted, or, as you just said, if something nukes the market and Bitcoin drops 20%, if Bitcoin drops 20%, nearly every altcoin is going to drop, between 30 and 80% more than Bitcoin does, right? So I was like, I had to really have that reckoning with myself. And as you mentioned, nobody goes broke taking profits. And you know what? I would have been very upset with myself had I let any of those assets drop another 30. Here's the thing, Bill, and I think that we forget that the newcomers don't know this. You can have Bitcoin or an altcoin, name an asset, doesn't matter. Say it's priced at $10,000. It can drop 60%. That doesn't mean once it drops 60% that it still can't drop 60% from there, or another 80% from that new price level. And we all need to recognize that. And as I've mentioned, and you've mentioned on this stream time and time again, we have to, yes, be excited and hopeful for profits, but hope is not a strategy. We need to have capital protections in place and make moves and adapt our strategy based on every day's new market conditions. So, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. And sometimes you hate yourself for taking profits. And the next day you are patting yourself on the back because of market dumps. So you're like, man, I didn't get to the level I wanted, but I got a lot more now than had I held through this firestorm. When we're seeing this massive uncertainty, and we can't, as unfounded as we feel like Gary Gensler is being in regards to what's happening with his lack of regulation, or AKA regulation by enforcement, AKA we're living in Russia and China right now in the terms of our financial ecosystem. We've got to protect our capital. I mean, this is a small, nascent asset class that is under full scrutiny with no sort of government empowerment. So just my thoughts there.
When you have Bitcoin, like everybody remembers, Bitcoin did nothing for a while, bored us all to tears, had me reading out of the phone book on my live stream. And then Bitcoin went down 5% and then went up 5%. Now, that may be good because Bitcoin really didn't net change and day traders probably all got stopped out. When you have that kind of price action, institutional risk management models, they pick up on that. Institutional risk management models want like bottom left to top right slowly. When you start this, that's when they start selling. So you have to ask yourself, because remember, June is quarter end. You have to ask yourself, with this introduction to volatility, computers don't know what Gensler's doing, but you've had this introduction to this volatility that's in, and certain, hedge funds might say just what you did. Like, oh, okay, well, this has gotten a little weird. So I'm going on vacation, right? Sell in May and go away. If they didn't listen on Memorial Day, which I was pounding the table on, they may do it now. They may do it at the end of the quarter. Say, hey, let's book what we got, right? And then there may also be something where they start piling into the winners, which is what looks like it's happening in tech stocks. I mean, I have been on multiple Twitter spaces where stock guys are like, well, I can't buy Apple. Well, I'm not going to buy NVIDIA. I can't buy it. And sometimes what happens is it just keeps going up until they have to buy it. You know what I'm saying? So, you have to remember at the end of a quarter, I know you probably don't want another variable to think about, but just remember, the more volatile something is, the more likely a hedge fund is to dump it at the end of the quarter. So add that to the math that you're doing for your personal portfolio.
You know what, Bill, I don't even know where to take this conversation because I'm so frustrated. And it's a good acknowledgement of all of us need to have. We talk about charts and numbers and investments and trading, but we really sometimes, and just so anybody that's watching right now, and there's quite a few of you, there's 157 people in the room and only 53 of you hit that like button. So get involved there, because if we think about what's going on with Jerome Powell and more specifically, I don't know why I said him, more specifically Gary Gensler and the lack of clarity, we're talking about people that are getting mouthpieces. I mean, I could not believe Gary Gensler went on a basically press junket and did a little press tour about basically fudding crypto. And, I forget who sent it here. Somebody sent in.
Kramer did it. He was on with.
Well, Kramer did it, but somebody else in the chat here said, I think the House Financial Services Committee is meeting on digital assets on June 13th also. It seems like this is calculatedly sort of stacking up psychological opposition or question, really just questionability about it before these things start getting discussed in the House, And so I think we all need to remember, as much as we want to know, okay, what's the stop loss? Okay, what's the risk to reward? What indicator am I supposed to be using? What's the Bitcoin pair? If we don't take a step out of that and realize, like right now, I'm frustrated with the news cycle. Well, why am I frustrated? Well, because I'm acknowledging also in that same moment that I have a bias about wanting and somewhat feeling like I need the price to go to a certain direction. Well, if I'm wanting or needing the price to go to a certain direction, I need to, reassess what my risk exposure is. I need to reassess, okay, I'm so focused on longs. Is this a long market? We want it to be, because in bull markets, right, you buy the dip, sell the rip. Well, are we really in a bull market yet? That's kind of a question, and I think the nature of having somewhat midterm macro, higher high, higher low, higher high, and we're in that sort of kind of flirting with breaking down from here because of the global uncertainty. I won't even call it global, because of the U.S. uncertainty, which is shaping shaping the confusion in the market right now. I feel like there's a little bit of a psychological stance we all need to take, that although we have had that, breakout in January up to where we got up to 31, and we're still technically structurally in a bullish trend, I think the landscape of this is actually more I won't call it a bear market, but definitely more a questionable accumulation sort of stage. What would you say to that? Do you feel similarly, or are you still, okay, we buy the dip, sell the rip sort of mentality like we would in a bull?
Okay, so I think that's all true. I mean, what I've been saying is, don't get caught from a tactical trading point of view buying green or selling red, right? This type of a market, particularly when you introduce political uncertainty, you get a certain choppiness. And if you're a day trader and you can set up a range, or you're like a Frankie Candles guy or a Magic Internet Money where you can define a range and operate that way, great. Now, the other thing that you can do, I'm calling it Tony Robbins' approach to crypto, right? Like, what would Tony Robbins say about crypto if he had a room full of depressed crypto traders? He might say something like, well, don't take a negative mentality. Don't wake up in the morning and look at crypto and read 4 articles about Gensler and Binance. The simple fact of the matter is, Gensler has made this a political issue. In economics, it's called unintended consequences. In other words, governments act, they think they're doing the right thing, but is
this unintended though? But I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, the unintended consequence is that he's handing RFK Jr., right? Possibly, DeSantis, and possibly the 45th president of the United States, a wide open window to come in and take the battered crypto vote and say, or the battered crypto voters, hold up the gladiator sword and says, follow me, right? We're going to end this. We're going to give you freedom. I mean, it is the United States, right? I mean, so, these guys have done this in an election cycle. Okay, they may be panicking about the dollar, but did they really have to panic? It's a good thing that they panicked because, again, RFK Jr. is out at Bitcoin Miami telling you he's guaranteeing everybody's freedom, becoming a hero, right? So, again, Gen Z, their number one investment is crypto. Gen Z may or may not vote. They don't want to vote for 80-year-old people, right? That was their choice last election, a couple of 75-year-old guys. So if you give Gen Z a reason to get to the polls and vote for somebody who is like speaking their language, well, again, Gensler just handed it to him. And again, maybe we got to stop even talking about Gensler. We got to start thinking about who Gensler reports to. Gensler he's not the man in a bubble, right? He wakes up, he takes his orders from somebody, right? Right?
Yeah.
So,
I talked about it. I talked to you about it yesterday. I don't want to call it a rant, but I went on a little bit of a rant about the puppet mastery that's happening here, because I don't think that Gary's as dumb as a lot of crypto people want to believe. I mean, he taught at MIT. One, that's already brilliant. Two, he does understand blockchain. I think there's a little bit of the butthurtness that he got from getting rejected by Binance, but then I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to dollars. I think he's, dollars and power. He's accumulating power by doing the bidding of people that are paying the bills in government. That's essentially what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's got a resume and cover letter, which may wind up getting published at some point over in the proverbial Binance file cabinet. Again, the people above Gary don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gary is an expendable dude. Like, let's have everybody hate Gary while he does our bidding, while we buy time, I don't know, to try to borrow $1 trillion. But, we try to do whatever it is we have to do before the dollar gives out. All right. So, you have to think, it's like, dude, I hate to tell you this, but I don't believe in coincidences. I was an expert at Wall Street when things would get dark. I'm a Scorpio, so, I do dark, right? But I have to remind myself that, there is a silver lining to all this, right? I mean, this is his last punch, right? This is his last punch, right? He's got to go through the courts to close everybody down, right? And I don't know if the courts are just going to let that happen. The XRP. Do
you think that, I can't remember his name. I think it was Haggerty, the congressman that did the quote that the Congress, there's, this is the thing that I think we all need to realize. It's like, hating all politicians is like being racist a little bit in a way. It's because you're grouping people together based on maybe an experience or something that you were taught from that's irrelevant. We need to take each person, each individual, each politician as they are. And there are people in Congress. I mean, we saw this in the congressional hearings a month or two ago. There was, it was Tom Emmer, Donaldson, Davidson. There was a number of people that are not happy with what's happening. And it's, I think there's people that are being somewhat disillusioned by, I did a post about it the other day. I said, I used to, I want to think of myself as a patriot. And I used to think of myself as a patriot by also being like, they generally know what they're doing. They're trying to help. And, from the pandemic forward, like I feel so disillusioned by anything that the government puts out that it's just like, but then we have like Haggerty going, posting on Twitter and basically trying to bring, not congressional charges, but some sort of, I don't know if it's going to be a hearing or just definitely congressional pushback against Gary. So not everybody in government is feeling the same way Gary and whoever's pulling the strings are. So we do need to rally and not just be vocally upset, but we need to be vocally active. We need to be rewarding the people that are on the side of crypto rather than just bitching at the people that we don't like that are speaking down to crypto.
Yeah, I was on a Twitter space, where they had securities lawyers, right? And if you take the 1940s securities law and point it at most of crypto, you could call just about anything a security.
Yeah,
you could call it all. Yeah, you could call it all a security, right? What the United States needs is to create or just remember the rule of law as it comes to crypto, right? In other words, if you said, Bill, what's the solution? I think the solution is the SEC needs to set up a set of rules that would allow a crypto asset to be listed on a centralized exchange, right? In other words, these are the criteria we would need to see in order to list it, and just leave the decentralized universe as like the primordial ooze from which these creatures grow out of. But in order for it to be available to the legacy investing public on centralized exchanges, these are the criteria that need to be met. Now, a side footnote. I think we all know that Gensler maybe was going to do something about crypto or try to do something to stop crypto. But remember when we were talking about the meme coin craze? Remember when we talked about the crypto market's unique ability to F itself? I don't know. Pepe started a wave of gambling and rug pulls. And I don't know, there's a meme coin. It's like, I don't know, Sonic something, Obama. Guys are bragging on Twitter that, they made what used to be a year's pay just trading that coin, say. Those kind of tweets. Trading is a predatory business. The traders made money on that and someone else lost. I've heard legit stories of people who can't afford to buy food because they got rugged playing in meme coin mania. Okay. I mean, when we did meme coin mania, we at the crypto asset space, we waved the red cape at the bull. You know what I'm saying? We did.
Yeah. So, and the meme craze, just for everybody knows, the meme craze is akin to also, even if you're trading Bitcoin, you're getting the same sort of results if you're trying to catch up by trading 40x leverage. I do not recommend that you're basically, because the market can go the exact direction that you see it's going to go on the chart. But when you're trading and you don't have capital protections in place and you're doing 40x leverage, that's why you see the markets whipping back and forth before they make their move. That's the market makers out there, smart money and algorithms, people that are much smarter than anybody we've ever met could ever be, because they're trading with mechanical systems that are hunting price levels to take that liquidity from you, because you're handing it to them when you're trading irresponsibly.
Yeah. I mean, preserving capital, staying out of bubbles, trading on emotion, somebody else made money, therefore I got to get involved. I mean, there were so many people, who were listening to me saying, get out of this thing on Memorial Day, get out. Right. But the allure of, I don't know, the casino, whatever, the allure of instant wealth sucks people in. We can lecture people about managing their emotions. The reason they're called emotions sometimes, I think, is because they are so hard to manage, and most people don't do it. Okay. Now, if Gensler can do any of us a favor, it's to remind us that everybody who participates in cryptocurrency is somehow responsible for the integrity of the space. That means what you're doing, what you say. We have to all be in this together. And I know that's a little nebulous, but I guess what I'm really trying to say is, don't be stupid. Don't raise your hand and say, oh, I'm stupid too. And Gary can go, oh, look, another stupid person. Right. I mean, he said that. He's like, crypto is full of fraudsters, dummies, whatever. Right.
Meanwhile, we have $31 trillion in debt in the US dollar from poor mismanagement, and we got Social Security that we can't fund, and Medicare. I mean, it's like
right, and we're dummies. Yeah, that's the counter.
And JP Morgan. I mean, I looked up a metric the other day. I looked up the 4 top banks of just what their cumulative fines have been since 2008, and it's like, if you saw what the fines are for just JP Morgan, and I brought it up here on stream before, if you saw the fines for JP Morgan Chase, and I don't mean because they did this little thing, I'm talking like $2 billion in money laundering fines. I'm talking about the things that they're saying that Bitcoin is used for. I'm like, look at the data from the big banks. Who's a fraudster? Who's pulling the Ponzi?
True. And the SEC and the Fed fine investment banks for sport because that's how they fund themselves. And it could be a very simple conversation that what they're really looking for out of Binance and Coinbase is just some giant fine. Yeah. Right. They're just looking to get a fine with a $1 billion fine and fund themselves. Right.
Yeah. Because they'll take $1 billion fine and we're like, oh my God. But they've just made
no regulatory clarity. Right.
Yeah. But they've also made $7 billion that they're okay. They're incentivized. It's like, okay, this is the cost of doing business. Because the fine far undershadows, what it is they're making money on. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll take the fine. I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from Wall Street, the fear of regulators. I mean, it was to such a point where, regulators create a compliance department that becomes so tight, right? You can't produce any research. You don't have any freedom. So, again, you could say they're stifling innovation and sending jobs abroad. That may be true. But you can't let them stifle the voice of crypto. You can't. Like, you may have to call your representative, right? Like, okay, I went through the crypto don't list. Now, how about the crypto do list? You may have to write your senator. If somebody starts a legal GoFundMe, I don't know, you may have to throw in some money. Right. We are all in this together, but I do think from a trading point of view, it's not the end of crypto. Remember FTX? Oh my God, this is it. It's over. Bitcoin was below 20K for 6 months. No one bought it. No one bought it. Right. Now we're going to do it all again. Now, this time altcoins may reflect the price action. They may get hammered and everyone's like, okay, it's all over. It's not. I think this is a new beginning. Right. You can't make steel without sticking the iron in the fire.
That's right. That's right. So, Bill, we've talked through some really great context of everything, and I'd love if you have any charts you want to pull up while you're pulling those charts up. I'll kind of let you take lead on just some of the things we should be looking at. It could be Bitcoin, could be Ethereum, could be some traditional signals, whatever it is you're feeling like we should be looking at right now. I'll let you pull that up. While you're doing that, getting that prepared, I'm going to throw it back to the screen here and say, everybody, if anybody's watching over at the Hit Network, make sure you're coming to follow us here at youtube.com/@BitLab Academy. We're pushing up right now, about 7,400. We're almost there. If we get 20 more people subscribe on this stream, we'll hit that number. But also, make sure you're following me over here at Kelly Kellam. It's the blue check and the Hit logo as you see here. Again, I only bring this up because I don't care to push my Twitter. I just care to prevent people from falling victim to the 20 to 30 to 40 fake profiles of me that are out there. Make sure you're following the correct one. And of course, if you like what Bill's saying, which I know you do because he's speaking truth here, make sure you're following him over here at crypto_noble. He's got a great YouTube channel as well. He puts out a lot of great content. He's just a wonderful, wonderful asset to the space, and he'll be an asset to your Twitter feed if you follow him. And then before we jump back over to Bill, make sure you come over here, follow BitLab Academy's Twitter, which is right. It's got the gold check and the Hit logo here, and it's at Academy BitLab. Make sure you follow, hit that retweet, hit that like button. We will be drawing at the end of the stream today. We're giving away $100 in stablecoin for you to allocate however you want. So throwing it back. So make sure you're following that. Now, throwing it back over to the main man, Bill. And just so you know, Bill, you may not know this, I go by Kelly. My legal name is William, so we're both Bills.
All right, right on. Yeah. Right on. Good taste in names. All right, let's go to all right, let's start with Binance Coin, right? We can talk all about regulation all we want, but Binance Coin, this is hidden pivot analysis. So maybe I can draw it here on the fly just to maybe drive the point home. Okay. So that's hidden pivot analysis. Essentially, we're looking for invisible support and resistant points. It comes from a guy named Rick Ackerman. All right. So 260 is a big point, right? Interesting, right? It's kind of hanging out there. There is a prior low. It's obvious. But if 260 does give way, if you ever saw a break of 260, a return to 260, you could be looking at much lower prices. So, you know, we can talk all we want, but we do have to pay attention. You know, we have to pay attention to what the chart says. Obviously, right? When it comes to Binance coin, we don't think it's the next FTX, but you know, you don't know if the government's end target is Binance coin. Now, this is Cardano versus Ethereum. Okay.
Well, I just wanted to mention about, you just mentioned Binance coin and potential FTX. I don't think it's likely either. However, you know, anybody paying attention to the news at all, they saw that Binance US also cut off the fiat off-ramp to US dollars. And so one of the things that we all need to realize is, as stable as we may think that they are, things can cascade quickly. And when they cascade, it's not like something that happens over the course of a month. If there is a bank run of sorts, or the right FUD buttons are pushed, then sort of mass exodus of liquidity, regardless of what it looks like in the books of how much they may have, a mass exodus of liquidity may illuminate things that people may not even be aware of, or just put them in a position that they can't honor those things in the moment. And then that cascades further. And then all of a sudden you do get an FTX situation. So we all need to have multiple wallets. If you're not using an exchange, I would also argue, use multiple exchanges and protect yourself by also spreading out where your capital is, and also making sure as much of it as you're not trading, which should be most of it right now, should be in private storage, so you're not a victim to anything collapsing.
Right. And, you know, one of the things about SEC, because I'm bringing up Cardano versus ETH here, you know, a lot of people were like, why was the SEC silent during Celsius, Voyager, and FTX? Well, maybe they would just sit back and going, well, let crypto break itself. Maybe we don't have to break it. It'll break itself. Right. So, you know, I know they're suing everybody in court, but ultimately they're just trying to make it crack. Right. They're trying to make, you know, and they could do that because it is a free market mechanism. They've introduced FUD, which is, you know, why we went through the whole be careful lecture. Now we have Ethereum we have Cardano versus Ethereum. Okay, there was huge support here. This is weekly. You know, Cardano was actually looking pretty good. You know, Cardano was holding versus ETH. There's a lot of reasons to like Cardano, and then you get, right? Looks like support gets shattered. Now, when it comes to Cardano, I understand. I know that there's a long-term value proposition, but like I can tell you a Cardano story about my brother. He's a high-powered attorney. You know, he loves to play a little Coinbase. You know, a year ago, he's like, oh, wow, this Cardano thing, it's only 75 cents. I can't believe how much Cardano I can get for my money. Now, he's not looking at the market cap, but Cardano had a lot of visual appeal. It's got a lot of following on YouTube, right? And if retail is forced to liquidate, or they panic, or it's delisted, or whatever, you know, obviously Cardano took it on the chin versus ETH. And I think you have to take this seriously, right? You know, in other words, you may love it, right? And it may be for the next cycle, but, you know, is it going to, you know, are they going to hurt? Can they take your favorite altcoin out to the woodshed? That's a question I think people have to ask themselves. Now, you know, when we're looking at, you know, why the government is acting the way they're acting, okay, you know, we have to remember that, okay, the banking system is in a little bit of trouble. The banking system is in more than a little bit of trouble, right? In other words, when interest rates start, this is the 10-year note yield, okay? At first, you know, banks were rallying with interest rates because, you know, banks can borrow money and they can, you know, they can borrow money at 3 and 4% and lend it out at 6 and 7 for home mortgages. So, you know, frequently rising rates can be good for banks right up until this point where banks and their bad risk management started to break because of higher rates. So what happens if the Fed has to raise rates more? And what happens if banks continue to go down? Like, honestly, this is the US government's probably their top priority. For us, it's like, oh my God, Gensler. But for them, it's like, oh my God, if interest rates have to go up, what happens to the banks? Right? Now, this is a legitimate concern, but people just do need to realize that, interest rates went to a point where banks broke. And if the Fed and like when the Bank of Canada raised rates, they just freaked out. So, I mean, if you have a watch list, right? I have a special bank watch list. Like I have Bitcoin right here, and I have BKX, which is an index of like big bank stocks. And I have XLF underneath it. Right. So I know we want to hear about altcoins. I talk about altcoins all day, right? Like I'll talk about Solana next, right? But we got to be watching the banks and we got to be watching interest rates because this is what the government cares about, right? Like if the banking system breaks, the dollar could break. Right. So there's like legitimate concerns here. But again, you look at this chart, this is why you want to have capital, because the dawn of crypto is coming, because this situation could be like a major mess come the late summer or the fall. Okay. Now let's go to Solana. Okay. Now Solana, as you may know, really took it on the chin during the FTX era because it was one of the things that FTX owned. So if altcoins get buried, okay, like maybe Solana goes to 17. Now that's its old low, right? But every altcoin that's on the hit list is probably going to start behaving erratically, like almost like it's trading on its own. It may wind up decoupling from Bitcoin. So I can see 17 in Solana, but Solana may do better than some of the other altcoins because maybe Solana is under-owned because Solana got killed last year. So this is a very big thing in legacy, and we may have to use on-chain data. I mean, this is not a one-day project, right? The stuff that's over-owned is subject to going down because people may quit on it. The stuff that's not over-owned or the stuff that may have a value proposition like a cell phone, like Solana, may do better. So I realized that, oh my God, is this guy really saying that, Cardano could get hurt more than Solana? It could. And I think we have to start looking at it that way, right? Like ICP, right? Like, I haven't brought up the ICP chart. I can do it right now, but obviously when you got guys like BitBoy talking about ICP, there's an obvious value proposition, but it's on the government's list. And, it just broke out of a range. It broke out of this huge range. So we want to see ICP start recovering quickly above 455. Now, if it does, awesome. You think I want this to go down? Of course not. I would love to see this be a big fake out and then have ICP come back into the range. That'd be great. But we want to see the market defying Gensler, right? You can defy Gensler in court. You can get upset. But we want to see the market repudiate these people, right? Now, if the market doesn't repudiate these people, then we have to be honest with ourselves about our positions, right? We may not want to do things, but we may have to. Right. So if, ICP comes up here and fails badly, which is another theme that is very important here. Beware the failed rally, right? If you see a big rally that fails badly, then you got to take that seriously. And I don't like chasing green candles. I mean, just if you look at ICP, if we go to say a 4-hour chart, and this is just like tactical stuff, right? I mean, big down day, right? So here's ICP 4-hour, just common sense, right? Big down day. Okay. Everybody thinks, wow, it's going lower. It goes down and comes right back. Then it looks like it's going up. 2 big green candles, boom, back down to the lows. Now we got 1, 2, 3 green candles. You may see something up to 450, maybe challenge this high, but don't buy strength. That's not investment advice, but you don't want to fall prey to people who are taking advantage of emotions if the only thing that really winds up happening in ICP is thrashing in this range. If you're good at it, great. If you're not good at it, don't be like, oh, it's going up. Oh, it's going to go to zero. That's what creates a range. Because if you go look up a range in a textbook, or you look it up in BitLab Academy, you'll just see, oh, here's the high and here's the low and here's the box, and that's a range. Well, what about the emotion of the range? The range gets created because everyone's bullish up here and predatory traders sell. And then people all get stopped out down here, right? And there's like euphoria, despair, euphoria, despair. And that's what you can get in regulatory environments. You can get a very choppy range, and this could include the dollar and bonds, keeping in mind it is the summer. So if you're good at range trading, well, this is your market. But if it's not, preserve capital.
So let's look at the dollar, because what's kind of been interesting to me is to see the dollar starting to roll over a little bit, which has kind of been in the makings of for a week or two. But Bitcoin, it's people want to believe that dollar down, Bitcoin up, but we also have to remember no signal. There's not one signal in the market that if this happened, that happens. There's all the context that's around it. And Bitcoin, dollar going down could be good for Bitcoin typically, barring any of the other, heavy weights that are, riding on its shoulders like it is right now. So what is the dollar looking like? And do you think is there a point that this could get to that would supply enough risk on behavior to sort of, I don't want to say discredit, but overshadow some of the other things that are weighing on the markets?
Okay, well, this is the good news, right? Now, I follow a guy, DIMIT, DC on Twitter, right? So he's a very advanced researcher, undoubtedly the smartest person in the market. He put out a tweet.
What was his handle again?
Okay, it was
DIMIT
right here, DC. Okay, like the smartest person in the market, to the point where, his tweets almost have to be decoded. He talks in institutional language. But here is something from his tweet that strikes me. Unless America devalues the US dollar, certain things will not be able to happen. Like the government won't be able to refinance itself. Like, in other words, the government has to defend the dollar or it has to devalue it. Now, I think they're going to have to devalue it. What does that mean? That means they're just going to have to let it go lower, right? Like this over here, to me, this is March, looks just like the top the dollar is making here. Dollar spikes up, it goes to the 76% retracement. It takes out the 62% retracement a little bit, is pressing there. And, if this rally fails, the dollar can go lower, right? I mean, in crypto, we're like, okay, it's either going to go to zero or the moon. No, the dollar is probably going lower, probably, right? And it's probably going to go lower. At first, it'll go slow, and then it'll go fast. Okay, this is why I don't want everybody to get destroyed, because, again, you cannot borrow $1 trillion. The SEC attack, needs to raise an eyebrow. The dollar's going lower. There is no flow into treasuries. So this is simple, right? We issue all these bonds to finance the debt, right? That's how we do the debt ceiling. Remember the debt ceiling? Right? They're like, oh, yeah, what debt ceiling? We're just going to borrow another $4 trillion. Okay, well, what the Treasury has to do, because there's not a lot of money flowing in to buy our treasuries, the demand for dollars to buy treasuries is not there anymore. So if the Treasury has to actually borrow, say, $500 billion, they borrow $1 trillion and use the slush fund as a way to add liquidity to treasuries. That was when people sell, right? They're the buyers with the borrowed money. I know, a total mind bender. But I mean, does that sound like a currency you want to own? I don't want to own that. So when you start looking at the dollar and you start looking at the dollar slumping like this after doing a retracement, right? Just basic retracement theory, or it's a range, right? the dollar's just going to head back down to the bottom end of the range. And I think that's what holds up Bitcoin, right? I mean, everybody's got to go from alts to Bitcoin, realistically, right? Binance halts, FX fiat withdrawals. What's everyone going to do? They're going to go from altcoins to Bitcoin and sit there, right? Or they're going to transfer out Bitcoin. And then the dollar goes lower. More reason to own Bitcoin. Could there be a final puke at the end of the quarter? Sure. There could also be a final puke at the end of the quarter in the dollar. Not a lot of people talking about that.
I mean, this, I brought this up on stream yesterday, I believe, or the day before. Patterns, they're not unique to any particular asset. You could chart any asset, any chart, with an asset, whether it's the dollar or Bitcoin. What I was looking at was the dollar looks very similar. Of course, this is a weird fractal comparison, but when we think about the 2017 high in Bitcoin and then the sharp sell off, and then we basically bounced up to the 618, but then we formed over several months, many months, a large descending triangle with descending resistance and a flat level of support. It looks very similar to what the dollar is doing right now. So I'm curious if we are going to not only trade down to the bottom side of that range, maybe bounce up again, trade to the bottom side of that range, constricting in the process, and then potentially have that, just like we saw in Bitcoin, where the floor fell out and the dollar just, drops, 8 to 10 or 12 basis points or something like that, which on the dollar, that's a huge, I mean, people don't realize if the dollar drops 1% in a day, on the dollar index, that is a huge valuation because of the size. I don't know if I want to call it a market cap, but the amount of dollar value that's out there that's being utilized. I mean, it's a major. It's more than a 20% move in Bitcoin. You know what I mean? A 1% move in the dollar. So we need to pay attention to this pretty closely because it's going to have a big impact on global markets as a whole.
Right. And there's a couple things you have to remember about the fiat foreign exchange market. That's where I started in 1991. That was the market that most actively used technical analysis. If you use technical analysis in equities in 1991, you had to go to a bar to do it. You couldn't do it in the office. They thought you were crazy. But the currency market was very into TA, right? They had dedicated technical analysts in the departments, right? Because of how volatile the foreign exchange market could be. Now, with this, here's the dollar monthly from 2015. The dollar traded in a box, and then the Fed was hiking rates, and then Bloomberg Magazine said no one can stop the dollar. And basically what you had is a false breakout out of a range. Now, textbook, right? If you have a false breakout out of the top of the range, normally, when and if it comes back down, it takes out the bottom end of the range, right? Period. Like that's just standard chart book. I mean, it either breaks out, comes back and holds and goes up. Just, I don't know, theoretically possible. The Fed raises rates to 8%, or the dollar is going to come back down here, find resistance at 104, and it's going to wind up making its way to 87. Now, again, this is a very big range. This goes back to 2015. But in research, as I always say on the show, you have to use your imagination, right? Citibank gets rid of its analysts because they don't think the foreign exchange market's going to move much. So what's going to happen? It's going to go crazy. It's going to be ballistic. A 1% in the dollar index, you're right. That is a lot in the current volatility regime. But what happens if the volatility regime changes and the dollar starts moving in 2 to 3% clips? Then what happens? Right? Again, these are questions you have to ask yourself. And what does that mean for Bitcoin? Which is why I don't want people to get distracted, right? I mean, that's, meme coins was a distraction where people made money. Gensler is a distraction that makes you depressed. Don't get distracted.
What is the map? When you're lost, walking around, you look at a map, right? You pull up GPS or you ask somebody. And, one of the things I think a lot of people forget is we have a map in front of us every day in the markets. That's looking at the charts, whether you know the news or not. there's very, that's why we call things like black swans, like the global economic shutdown in March 2020. That somewhat came out of nowhere. But the majority of time, even, there's, I forget the exact, I'm going to paraphrase here, but, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news, is a very common saying amongst traders and analysts that have been around, because there's people that do trade the market very fortuitously, very profitably, and they don't follow the news, because typically the news, and I don't know how or why this happens, if it has to do with some Fibonacci on time cycles in life, and I don't know, but the markets tend to move and break out at about, whether it's a rising wedge, a falling wedge, a channel, any of the movements that we're seeing, you could theoretically ignore the news entirely, and you'd actually have a lot less stress in your life. Looking at the charts are telling you where the momentum is shifting. And if it doesn't do this, then that. So this is why I think some people new in the markets, whether they're watching this channel or watching any channel, and you see somebody say it could go up or could go down, if you're not having that mentality in your own analysis, then you're not doing yourself the service of acknowledging a bias, but also being, planning for the best, hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. Because the markets, they can stay insolvent, they can stay irrational longer than most people can stay solvent. And so we need to plan for both directions. So, man, those are some great charts. Do you have anything else that you're looking at right now? Is there anything that is a light in the market right now that's performing, sort of bucking the trend? I haven't looked at Litecoin lately. I know there's some talk around the halving there. Do you look at Litecoin at all, or any other coins that are performing on their own path?
Well, it looks like XRP is. XRP doesn't trade badly. XRP was at its high of its recent range. XRP, did back off in May, but it hasn't really been affected by what's going on here. So, on one hand, I've heard lawyers say that whatever happens with XRP, that lawsuit's not going to save the exchanges from Gensler. That said, it may save the coin. Okay, right, exactly. This could actually be, and I was saying this a week ago, right? I actually got through on TikTok with a big video about this. This could be what the XRP people have been waiting for, a fast form of money, right? That somehow gets a pass from the SEC. Has anybody thought that Gensler may be acting the way he's acting to try to make a victory, to try to minimize an XRP victory in the case versus the SEC?
I 100%. Yeah, I've even said that. I agree.
That may be, I don't know. That may be true. And if you look at the DeMark work here, there's nothing to indicate. There's nothing to indicate the start of a trend. A trend could start, but there's nothing to say, oh yeah, there's a definitive topping signal in XRP. Like, remember when we looked at Cardano, where you had this ugly red candle through support? I think if I look at XRP weekly, okay, this is the area on DeMark where it will count from 1 through 9, counts a set of conditions. It's quantitative. You want to buy the dip on the 3 or the 4, if it's going to be a real trend. Well, there you go. Right. XRP down all the way back up again. Somebody wants to own XRP.
Well, now, Bill, did you see, I don't know if you watched a video BitBoy put out last night, which was interesting. It was essentially, I believe, I cannot remember the name of the company. I believe the company was called Link2, where it allows you to buy shares of a company before it IPOs. And so what they've done is they've been collecting and buying off stock option shares from different people that have worked for XRP, and they have this big amount of pre-IPO sort of shares for XRP, because they're gonna, once this case clears, apparently they're going to be IPOing as well on the traditional asset side, and there has been a marked increase in the value of those shares, up like 60% in the last week. So almost as if there's some people in the know behind closed doors. Maybe that's speculation, or people are just very hopeful of positive news coming, on this some sort of conclusion or resolution of this case in some regard. But I think that partially could be one of the factors here in the XRP price also going up, is people seeing the sort of backdoor sort of speculation about maybe there's some in the know positive action that's going to be coming here in the matter of a couple days or a week or so, which is interesting. Have you heard anything about that? Or are you just looking at the charts?
I'm just looking at the charts because I'm trying to keep it simple when it comes to XRP, right? I'm trying not to be dogmatic. I'm trying to carve my niche into the XRP viewership on YouTube by just looking at the chart and trying to say, hey, this is outperforming. And this has a story, right? That's what's always key in equities. What's the story? Well, the story is Ripple Inc. has, a lot of business with central banks for CBDCs, right? Which in my mind doesn't make Ripple Inc. perfect, right? But, they have a business model and they probably could go public, right? Because if they get, away from the SEC, then they're going to be possibly like MicroStrategy in the sense that they'll be a stock people can buy and not necessarily have to worry about the regulatory hammer. So that's the story behind Ripple, the stock options, etc. Now, XRP, the rest of the market's getting wrecked and XRP is not going down. XRP is sitting at the top end of its range. Now, if they wreck altcoins, could XRP get wrecked too? Sure, but right now it's outperforming. So if you're hodling XRP, you might be like, well, maybe I'll stick with it. Or maybe I'll take a little off the table, but, I'll hold on. There can be such things as one coin markets, right? I have seen it happen with Avalanche, where everything goes down and something goes up. Right now, XRP is possibly on that list. That's just what I'm thinking. And then I think when I look at, when you look at what's going on in equities, and again, I've been on these spaces with these stock guys. It was actually kind of an accident that I wound up on one of these podcasts, but God, I'm looking at this AGIX coin, this like decentralized AI. God, no one is talking about this, right? No one is. I met these guys at Consensus. I made a decision not to buy this coin because I want to be able to talk about it regularly without someone going, oh yeah, well, he's biased, right? I met these guys. I heard the value proposition. I've got a 13 and a 9 bottom on the daily chart. Now, is this going to hold? Well, I don't know, man. God, they beat it up so bad prior to Gensler coming in. Like, I just can't believe. Like the Adobe product that was released, Adobe Photoshop plus AI, has already changed the game in terms of what I can do or what we can do on my YouTube channel. Decentralized AI is going to come back. So if anyone was thinking, hey, what can I DCA into? Or if I want to ignore Gensler, what major investing theme is out there? God, why not look at this? The weekly chart doesn't look like much because I don't have a lot of data. But man, if Gensler gives you the opportunity, if all coins get wrecked, what happened to AI?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot. I think there was some speculative juice in the tank when the AI narrative really popped initially, but I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be just a passing phase. I'm meaning like it's going to just be that one that we just had. I think there's a lot more juice in that to squeeze going into the next cycle. It's going to be very interesting, and a lot of them, they're smaller. Comparative to the top 10, they're much, much smaller market caps, which also means, one, they're more risky, yes, but two, there's a lot more room, a lot less monetary energy it takes to move them. So I'm not recommending anybody put in 50% of their portfolio. In fact, that's not how you should ever allocate your capital. Non-investment advice, strategy advice. But it's something that I think everybody should. There's Singularity Net, which is AGIX.
Right, that's right.
Fetch.ai. There's GRT, the graph, which is not necessarily full on AI play, but they use AI to index data on various blockchains. Some people say it's going to be similar to like the Google of blockchains to access data across multiple blockchains. But there's a number of different plays that people can make, and this is all basically the next stage of infrastructure that's going to be highly speculative, because I don't think all of them will win. Some of them will likely lose, but we can make money on some of those in the process if we don't just get myopically, you throw money in, forget about it. You got to reallocate over time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at FET, right? Like this 4 wave essentially is telling you that the way Elliott wave works, that there could be a final 5 wave climax to the downside. So you've got a 13 bottom, which is a warning of a bottom. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You could have 6, 7, 8, 9, right? To give you both a 13 and a 9 bottom. So, if you were inclined, like remember, buy red, sell green. If you ever saw a big red down day in some of these AI coins, and maybe you saw people panicking in the market, maybe that's an opportunity, right? Because one of the things that the whole Gensler thing can do, it can heighten emotions. It can create fear. I mean, I don't know about you, man, but this week rattled me. I was like, oh my God, but you have to recover, look at a chart and say, okay, where's the opportunity, right? You got to go Tony Robbins. Where's the opportunity?
Well, thinking most people, I wasn't in the space yet. I was loosely paying attention to it, but I didn't dive in until I don't remember, sometime either the end of 2015 or 2016, somewhere around that time. But Mount Gox, of course, the value of Bitcoin was a lot less. But do you remember the number there? How many Bitcoin were lost or locked up in that sort of litigation for up until, recently? I don't even know if they've started releasing them yet, but it was over 100,000 Bitcoin, wasn't it?
I don't have that number handy.
It was a huge amount. It was also basically the only place you could really trade.
Correct. When you look at the history of crypto, the darkest hours have always created the biggest opportunities. Like that's how I would say it, right? So I'm looking for my Bitcoin chart that has the full history. It's not coming up right this second.
The BLX?
One of the things, BLX maybe, right? One of the things that I remember about 2011 when I looked at the charts, not finding it here, was that in that year, Bitcoin went up massively and then unwound it all, right? But that turned out to be a major bottom. So, this is a year, 2011 was also a big debt ceiling year, right? History does repeat itself. There's a lot of cycle work, a lot of planetary work that, would hint at, this is very much like 2011 in some ways. Just remember, it's always darkest before dawn, right? And that's an important thing to remember. If you see shocking numbers in altcoins, everyone says they want to buy the dip, but frequently when the dip comes, they get scared out of the market.
Hey, isn't that the truth? Yeah. They get too excited at the very top of the largest green candle they've seen. And they talk about, man, when it's lower, I'm going to buy when and then it gets to that level. And it's just, we all, doesn't matter how experienced somebody is in the space. We all need to be better about that and having strategy, but still being adaptable. Bill, is there anything else you wanted to share before we can still go a little longer, but anything else you want to share? Any other last charts or any other things you're working on or anything you want to share with the community? All
right. Well, one, I appreciate being here, hit one if you're grateful. I'll put a 1 in. I appreciate being here. I appreciate this community at Crypto Noble on YouTube. And then, I think the most important thing to remember is keep your head about you. Remember, crypto is freedom. And there are a lot of cycles out there that indicate this is very much like, the French Revolution and the American Revolution. This is like the trilogy. This is the return of the Jedi, of the financial world. Just remember that you're a part of that crypto.
Yeah, I couldn't say that any better myself. Yeah, everybody throw a 1 in chat. Bill, it's always an honor having you here. I'm just going to assume you're going to be here on Fridays, and unless you message it, because I sometimes I forget I messaged you again this morning. I'll just assume you're going to be here, and be prepared if you're not going to be able to. You just let me know when you can't be here on Fridays, and it's always good to check in with somebody that's not just I'm kind of one of them, not just somebody that has dove in and whatever knowledge they have since they got involved with crypto. It's nice to have somebody that's been on both sides of the fence, still has a foot on both sides as well, and has a broad view of ranges, a broad range of views of markets and the context that really affects all these things. So I appreciate your insight and I appreciate your time, Bill. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
All right, sir. Have a good one.
You too, my friend. Thank you. Everybody. This is what it looks like without the green screen, without the image. Man, I love having Bill on. He's just such a calm, metered individual. You know, his goal is just to share what he thinks is going on so it can help other people. So I do want to just really recommend each and every one of you, if you haven't yet, you come over here to Bill's Twitter page, give him a follow, check out his website, and he's got a YouTube page as well, which is right here. And in a little while, we're gonna do a bunch of TA now. So we're gonna do some TA here. I'm also gonna be doing TA on BitBoy Crypto after the stream. So after the stream, definitely come over there, throw on those lab coats. Let's bring in that positive energy that we have on this channel, and just let's do that. But make sure you come over here before we get to the end of the show. We are going to be giving away some money to one lucky winner. All you need to do is come to the BitLab Academy Twitter page, which is here at Academy BitLab. It's also pinned in the top of the comment thread there. Follow us, hit that retweet, and hit that like button. You'll be entered to win. We're randomly drawing a day of the week. This is why I encourage you all to watch throughout the week when you can. But also retweet and hit that like button. You're entered to win. That's how we randomly draw the names. I like how Bill doesn't talk extremely loud. Like, Dan, you're a dick. Get out of here. You get the hell out of here. I hate that stuff. Nothing constructive coming from you. Okay. Well, let's see. What are we looking at here? Alrighty, let's go ahead and pull up the Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so we're just trading in this range right now. Just trading in this range, and this is a dominance. And the reason why we want to look at this is because of everything we were just talking about in regards to Bitcoins or altcoins, what's going to perform, how they're going to perform. And if the dominance starts rocketing up, if people really start moving out of their altcoins into Bitcoin, we're going to see liquidity pouring in. We're going to be pouring into the market cap here of Bitcoin. And we're going to start seeing a strong move of not only Bitcoin price, but especially how Bitcoin price is holding in relationship to these other altcoins. And remember, if we're investing in the digital asset ecosystem, regardless of whether or not you think you like Bitcoin or not, we want to make sure that here, I'll make the volume better for Dan. Is this better, Dan? Is this a better volume? Is this a better volume here? Yeah. I have the volume is balanced on my end. I can see it on the little LED lights here, managing the volume levels between the different channels. So point being here is Bitcoin is the safest asset in the entire digital asset ecosystem. And if it's performing better than the other assets, why are we holding other assets that are more risky in a time where things are uncertain and we're seeing Bitcoin actually taking the lead, liquidity coming in? Now, everybody, we're going to be positive from here on out. I should not have even responded that way. I just was irritated by a couple of things that he said. I apologize. And I apologize to you too, Dan. Dan, you're welcome to be here. Let's keep it positive. All right. So let's go ahead and do some TA on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. We're going to do those first. And then if we have time for others, we're going to look at that. So looking here at Bitcoin, Bitcoin spot, looking at the BitGet chart, we're still in this falling channel here. Bitcoin is just like we're talking about trading that range with Bill, whether it's a horizontal range where it's just kind of going sideways and bouncing up and down. This is the same thing, but it's a falling channel. It's a falling range. So we're testing, basically we broke through here, established this level here, rejected, bounced, rejected, bounced, rejected, bounced. So we're still in this sort of setup here that as much as we wanted to just rock it up, we are well within this range. We tested the top side of the range, came down to the bottom side of the range. If we're looking at the MACD, I'm still looking at these traditional asset indicators, or these traditional indicators, I should say. Money flow is not looking, I mean, it's just looking choppy. It's just hovering around the zero line. We see the stochastics are also, they're down here below the 50 line as well. Traded down, tried to make a pump up, which is right in this region right here, immediately got rejected. So what we can do on the stochastics is form a trend line like this. And we can tell if the price starts to push up again, which is looking like it's trying to, one, we can do option F from the top here to the bottom of this range. And we can see it's showing weakness, not even reaching up to this golden pocket here, the 0.618 in 6.5, which is right where my mouse is right here. We're showing weakness coming into the zone, not even making up there, getting rejected at the 0.5 even. Money flow is not even looking like it's trying to round. Let's actually come down to the 4 hour. We can look at the 4 hour, we can see very ugly here. Some people very loosely, when they're very hopeful, would say this is an inverse head and shoulders, which you could make that argument, but I would say that this is shoulder, head, shoulder, if this were to come back up, could be in place, but the weakness of the market, I would think that this is not going to play out. I think it's probably unlikely that this price even gets up to this zone where this neckline is. So we can also see right here on this time frame, we can do another trend line on this time zone timeline here, this 4 hour. We're seeing this is getting rejected in this region each time too. It's starting to roll over as well on stochastics, meaning that the strength, the momentum, and the underlying sort of pressures, excuse me, the underlying pressures are showing weakness in this weak move. So we need to be aware of that. Although, okay, this higher low, this is going to go up, but we're not even able to break this high right here. We're just seeing consecutive lower highs all the way through. So if we were looking at this on the 3-day, let's go ahead and look at this on the 3-day first. Still looking very similar, of course. We've got the rising wedge that we're within, but we're also now testing the bottom side of this rising wedge with, this is also a bearish chart formation, but this structure right here is bullish. So this is just showing that ultimate uncertainty that we've been seeing in markets as of late. And so we need to see some resolution. I think that there's going to be some sort of washout, whether it's I think if this were to push up very fast, quickly right here, I do think that, thank you, Crypto Pollo, I believe is what it's supposed to say. Having Bill on Fridays is great. I always enjoy his take on the market. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like having him on as well. I got some great guests I got lined up that I'm going to be doing starting next week as well. We're going to be doing the highlight of the long interviews. It'll be about an hour interview. The highlight roll of that, or not, maybe not highlight. There's going to be some select clips from that we create a 8 to 10 minute video that we put out on BitBoy Crypto. And then to see if the full interview, those are going to be on BitLab Academy. So you'll be seeing that here coming shortly. And we're seeing that the momentum is starting to roll over. We could tell by this MACD histogram right here starting to roll over. This went from dark pink to light pink. It's trying to contract, but I do think if this were to move to the upside, I do think that this would be a liquidity washout, potentially getting as high as 29.7, which is the top of this range right here. This would be a very, very strong move that I don't think would have follow through. I think if this came up, it would be a trap. I will reevaluate when that happens. So this is what we need to do. We have to take things level by level right now when things are uncertain. So we need to make sure that we're being aware of that. Now, Bitcoin chicken, that's right. It's Bitcoin chicken right now. Now, if this does wash out to the downside, I similarly think this would be a trap. I think either direction, large move, is going to be a liquidity washout. And when this sort of does wash out to the downside, I do think there's going to be quite a bit of buying power if we get down, if we lose this level here and get down and test this this zone right here, which is basically the $23,000 region. if we come down to this level, I think we're going to have to evaluate. But I do think this is going to be a bit of a liquidity washout. And I think we would, if this happens, that we would come down and then sort of chop in this range for quite some time, probably through the summer with some pretty large ranges. So that's what I'm thinking on Bitcoin. If we zoom out on this, looking at Cardano. Cardano's still looking weak. Remember yesterday, let's double click here. Yesterday we were talking about if we lost this, let's actually go to the 4 hour. I want to see where we were yesterday. Yesterday we were about right here. This is, what is today? 9th, 8th. No, 8th. So we were right in this region right here. And I said this was looking very weak. It's looking like a stair step, down, over, down, over, down. And I was targeting for us to likely come down to this 30-cent range. And it looks like we're making our way towards that. We're getting a little bit of a relief right here with an immediate rejection. So I am still looking for this level down here on Cardano. Now we come over here and we pull up the ETH chart. We can pull this up right here. Let's go auto. Auto here. This is what we're looking at. And wouldn't you know it? Ethereum's doing neither one of the things that we had planned out. But what we are seeing is strength. We're seeing strength here on Ethereum. So let's go ahead and delete both of these. And this happens sometimes. It's okay. You adapt to overcome. What we're seeing right here, the reason why I say this is somewhat strong is we are getting a bit of a, that was a terrible drawing. We are getting a little bit of a double bottom here. The question is going to be, if this is not able to retake this level right here, then I think that this is just going to be more of like a bear flag sort of, you know, where we have this pole and then the flag right there. And basically trading in this sideways range. If we're not able to take this, we show weakness here, we start coming back, I would be looking for a loss of this level right here. And, you know, testing down to the bottom side of this range right here. We also have a little bit of a VPVR. Let's go actually get some more data here. Okay, yeah, if we start losing this level, we're getting... Okay, yeah, if we start losing this level right here, I think we are going to be coming down to test first off this level right here, 1,800, which is only about $48 down. If we actually look at it, it's it's another 2.5% down. If we get all the way down to this level right here, which is probably very likely this downtrend resistance that we have flipped to support, will it hold support? Well, we're going to have to see when we drop another 4% to get down to this level. If we lose this level, then yes, we have this level right here, but I think this is going to be a weak level of support because this means that things are getting very hairy in the market, and there's a lot of not only uncertainty, but the uncertainty is having follow through with people being more certain about downside price action. Right now, it's uncertainty about what direction we go. If we start getting bearish certainty and we come down to here, that's not the worst case. But if we lose this level, I think we may bounce here, come back up here, get rejected, and then test all the way back down here to the $1,700 level. So that's what I'm seeing. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. Now, if we come over here, let's go ahead. We're going to do the comment picker. Come over here. If you have not yet, the link is up in the description. I'm going to post it right here. Retweet this. You get entered to win. Entered to win. Do that now. We draw from all the days of the week that we have these posts each day. And this is going to be for $100 USDT. So let's go ahead and do that. I already synced this. I logged it into the BitLab account. So let's go ahead and do the random spin. I'm going to wait another 10 seconds. So you all have heard this and you've done the retweet, you've done the like, you've done all this stuff. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell if you haven't yet. Get involved. We had over 200 people watching live today. Feels good. We got 146 likes. I appreciate you all participating. You're helping crypto get recognition on YouTube. It's not just helping this channel. You're helping it all. So let's go ahead and draw from the days. Let's see what day it's going to be. All righty. What day do you think it's going to be? It's going to be, going to be Friday. It's going to be today. So everybody that is here today that's retweeting, this is all for you, baby. So it's come over. Make sure you're following Bill if you haven't yet. Also, make sure you are following my account, which is right here, YouTube. Sorry, not YouTube. My account, it's at Kelly Kellam, Kelly Kellam. Now what are we doing? We are pulling that thing to draw, copy, link. Now we're gonna put a comment picker, a link to tweet to. There we go. Get data. Alrighty. Now we're going to do our random name picker from today. Who's it going to be? $100. Quarter crawl. Are you in the house right now? Let me know if you're in the house. I might have to start changing this to where their only winners can be are people that are currently watching. We got quarter crawl. I will be reaching out to you to and also get in the Discord. There's also the free area of the Discord you can get in. I'll be reaching out to you and making this happen. Make sure anybody that reaches out to you, I'm telling you, somebody let me know yesterday that there's a fake up BitLab Academy page out there. Make sure when you go to BitLab Academy or any messages you get, I don't use the word mate. I don't ask you how your trade's doing. I don't do any of that. We talk about this live on the stream and also in BitLab Academy, meaning I talk to you on video about crypto. I don't send you messages, ask you, hey mate, how's your trade going? That's some scam nonsense. Watch for this account right here with the orange check and the hit right here, and make sure it says Academy BitLab, not Academies BitLab, not Academy.BitLab, not BitLab Academy. It's Academy BitLab. And the same thing with my account. Now, with that being said, I love you all. Make sure you're coming over here, following here at BitLab Academy, and check out these daily alpha videos right here. These are meant to be more evergreen. I love you all. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell. Let me go ahead and do this redirect. We're going to get it. I'm going to be over on BitBoy Crypto here in a moment. Let's bring in that positive vibe. Send in some positive comments. Show me some love. I hope you all have a wonderful day and have a wonderful weekend as well. With that, adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in. I didn't change the screen yet. Now you can see me. Hit that like button, subscribe, and be my friend. Adios, everybody.